Okay, Professor Chomsky, to whom I owe a lot, is like any other man, although he's got a big fame and VIP, but you only live twice, for yourself and for history. Or as English Somerset mom would put it, at the crossroad, it does seem to us that we might go either to the right or the left, and the choice once made, it is difficult to see that the whole course of the world's history obliged us to take the turning we did. Right. So to understand Chomsky, you have to understand the historical context in which he lived, or even before he was born, because he's American from Russo-Ukrainian Jewish origin. So there are some historical events that should be mentioned to try and explain the way he came to think and to rationalize about the real world. You have to talk about the Russian pogrom, that is the sufferings and persecutions of the Jews in Orthodox Russia. And most probably this was the cause that drove his parents to leave Ukraine and go to the United States, where he was born in 1928. And then something very important happened, which is very, very harsh on the Jews. That was the Second World War, the Holocaust. All right? This must affect a young man like him. And then in 1948 was some glimpse of hope for him, for all the Jews of the world, that is the establishment of Israel. And at first, young Chomsky was willing to go and live in a kibbutz, but his parents dissuaded him from doing so. That would be utopic to try and help the people to live in harmony, especially belonging to different cultures. Remember, we mentioned Bakunin, this Russian philosopher who was against any kind of government, and Chomsky, following him, believed that people could know their rights and their duties and live in harmony, but we know human nature is not that way. Okay, and then came something very harsh on leftists, communists, socialists, and there's an excellent film called Sacco and Vanzetti, in which some Italians were accused of being communist or anarchist and were executed. And there was a man doing witch hunting, a famous senator called McCarthy. I'm sure that Chomsky knows him. Of course, he's a great intellectual. He knows even about Arab and Muslim scholars. In 1963, also something very important happened to the US and affected many people, not just in America, but even throughout the world. It's the assassination of President J.F. Kennedy in November 1963. But then came also the Vietnam War, with all the sufferings and all the intellectuals and leftists and free thinkers, humanists like Chomsky demonstrated against this war, which was very harsh on the Vietnamese, but also on the Americans that saw their kids being killed. And if I may jump, of course, you have the conflict, non-ending conflict between Jews and Arabs. Chomsky was trying to reconcile the two sides and try to be fair to both, although he belongs to Jewish origin. In fact, he's known as the self-hating Jew. This needs an explanation. And if I jump to the 9/11 attacks on New York, Chomsky went against the mass media and the official version of what happened, and he was harshly questioned about that. He even questioned the Holocaust, and he was accused of being revisionist. Well, these are a few events that happened in the life even before he was born, the life of Chomsky, that may have affected very, very much his thought and way of dealing with politics. Well, I hope this is useful to understand the mind of Mr. Chomsky. Well, next time I will try to talk about him as a linguist, because Chomsky is not just a linguist, but a philosopher and a political analyst. Thank you very much.